The Eastside, brought to you by Playground Entertainment, Dare Books Publishing, and Next Step Entertainment. Written by Richard Fonzie. Enjoy, and thank you for your support.
Records say you know it, they don't like it like I do. Say you're moving on, well, I guess that's just emotion.
The Eastside, Prelude. A full moon was shining on a dark night and sat in a starless sky above the city. I remember it well. My baby sister pointed toward the sky as I balanced her on my forearm, supporting her bottom as I carried her on my left while the garbage bag dangled in my right hand. Her eyes opened wide in amazement at the moon's large size and illumination, which shined as bright as a streetlight. My mother, before she passed, used to tell me that something crazy would always happen during a full moon. In this case, she was right. We watched the massive crater for a moment. Our bodies were turned into statues by our observation until we were awakened by a drunken scream from my father inside the apartment. You left the door open and the air conditioning is on. Every Thursday night, my dad drank beer while watching a sports game. He sat in his favorite chair and turned the thermostat to 73 degrees to keep himself cool in the humid summer night air. I don't remember much from that night after I brought my baby sister back into the house and closed the open door behind me. I've heard that marijuana affects the memory, and maybe it's true. After I put my sister to bed, I sat outside the stairs, listened to some music on my iPad, and smoked the rest of my marijuana-filled blunt outside the apartment. I sat there, intoxicated by my high, admiring the large, fascinating moon as it sat clear in the Orlando, Florida sky. Little did I know, at the same time, an event was taking place that would change my whole summer as well as my life forever. The story was told that under the same moon, completely across town, a black Mercedes was creeping through the city as the glare of the extraordinary moon reflected off the well-polished vehicle. People say that the automobile was wearing black chrome rims and dark as night tinted windows, so no one could see who was inside. Rumor had it that the car parked in the back parking lot of Luxy, a club that was very popular on the west side of town. Three men deployed out of the vehicle, each wearing a black leather mask that only exposed their eyes. All three were dressed in black suits with black button-down shirts, black ties, and a concealed weapon underneath their jackets. The three men coincided in their attire, each wearing a black fedora hat on their heads, exactly alike, to look like the same person. The men were similar in height and build. The mysterious three walked calmly to the front entrance of the club. The bass of the thumping reggaeton music from inside vibrated on the outside wall as they passed a colored sign which read Latin Night. The bald Hispanic security guard did not notice the three men until they were several feet away from his backside. He turned around quickly. Who the fuck are? His sentence was interrupted by a quick gunshot to his large trimmed chest, which was quieted by a silencer on the barrel of one of the three men's guns. The oversized bouncer clenched his chest as blood leaked from his tight gray t-shirt. He dropped to his knees and glanced up at the masked men standing over him, one of them holding a recently used 9mm handgun. The second and third masked men ran into the large packed dance club as the first one shot the other large security guard in the back as he tried to run away. He shot the first bouncer again, several times, to make sure he was dead, and then calmly walked into Club Luxy, joining his fellow culprits inside. Last song, the disc jockey smoothly spoke into the microphone as the crowd screamed in excitement for the DJ's choice in music. The three masked men, after checking their black Movado watches, ran up the set of stairs which sat directly left of the bathroom and directly in front of the bar. The athletically built Hispanic bartender watched the three suited men scurry up the stairs and glared at them. He became concerned as a chill crept up his spine. Something ain't right, he stated to himself. The bartender then power walked to the entrance to evaluate his suspicions. My God, he exclaimed as he saw the two dead bodies of the security guards lying face down in a puddle of their own blood. In shock, he jogged back behind the bar table and reached for his cell phone. His fingers quickly pressed 911. Two of the bouncers have been shot and killed. There are three masked men that just ran into the club and are now upstairs. Please hurry. Where is your location? Club Luxy on National Drive. The police are on their way. Try and stay calm. Don't cause a panic, the woman reassured. Meanwhile, the three masked men barged into the upstairs office door, each with their guns drawn. They entered the room to see a middle-aged Latino man with receding hairline looking back at them. He was startled by their abrupt entrance. His name was Jose Camacho, the Puerto Rican owner of Club Luxy and other businesses around the West Side area. He sat there, overwhelmed, behind a long wooden desk, with his hands in the air to indicate to the masked robbers not to shoot him. Each finger on his hand contained a ring that shined in the dimly lit room and reflected off the expensive glasses that he wore on his face. The rings all had beautiful diamonds in them to exhibit his grand wealth. The top of the desk was full of large bills, stacked up by dollar amount. One of the masked men pulled out a dark bag from his jacket and started pouring cash into it. People say that the man had around $100,000 sitting on his desk that night, but I'm not that sure. I curiously wondered why a club owner would keep that much cash on him and not in a bank. My father said he had known Jose Camacho many years ago and doubted he got all of his revenue from owning small businesses. Others mentioned that Jose owed some bookies some money from a gambling debt and was counting the cash before he dropped it off after everyone left the club. I don't know what the reason may have been, but all I know is that he had a lot of cash on him and somebody wanted it. Did Hernandez send you? Jose questioned, scared, with his hands still in the air. The men did not answer. How much are they paying you? Whatever it is, I'll double it, Jose stated, trying to negotiate with the silent men. The men continued to say nothing. One of the masked men just nodded his head to one of the other members as he nodded back and vacated the room. The two remaining masked men stood in front of the Hispanic man's desk, but only one had a weapon pointed at Jose's chest. Thank you for the money, Papi, the alpha masked man said in a sinister voice. Now, come up off those rings, too. Son of a bitch, Jose replied to the man's request, taking off all of the diamond rings on his finger and placing them in the bag. Okay, keep those hands up. Don't get cute, the masked man quickly mentioned after all of Jose's fingers were completely bare. Jose started to look very closely at the man pointing the gun at him, and his mood changed from scared to irate. I recognize that voice. You motherfuckers dare rob me? Jose screamed while reaching for his pistol attached to the bottom side of his desk. He quickly grabbed and pulled it out and rapidly squeezed the trigger. He managed to let off 3 shots before he completely missed the 2 men. The vocal masked man fired a single bullet and left it in the club owner's forehead. Jose sunk slowly into his tall brown leather chair until he fell onto the floor. The 2 masked men looked at each other. They were both breathing heavily, shocked by the unexpected shots. Let's get the hell out of here, one of the men said as they fled from the small office room. The 2 men hurried down the stairs while holding the bag of money. The bartender spotted them coming from the stairway and yelled out, "Hey, you, stop!" One of the masked men answered back with a shot from his gun toward the bartender, which he dodged by diving onto the floor. The 2 masked men maneuvered through the crowd toward the emergency exit that led to the back of the club located at the end of the dance floor. The large population that filled the room were so intoxicated and joyful from the alcohol that they did not even notice the masks on the men in the building. The 2 members stumbled onto the 3rd member standing next to the exit door with his mask off, receiving a young Spanish girl's phone number. They grabbed him by his jacket and pulled him through the door as their momentum took them into the parking lot. All they could hear was a vague sound of the girl's voice calling out, "Call me," as the door closed behind them. The black Mercedes quickly drove out of the parking lot of the club in the mix of all the other cars leaving. They passed multiple police cars flashing their lights, flooding into the parking lot. The area became so chaotic that this assisted the black Mercedes to leave unnoticed. The police had set up a barricade in front of the entrance and were questioning people as they left. Their attentions were so involved in their questioning that they did not even take notice of the black automobile leaving the scene, which contained the suspects that they were looking for. "You're an idiot," one of the masked men said angrily, talking to the unmasked driver. "What?" he questioned. "You were supposed to be in the car, ready to drive, not taking some hoe's number." "Man, did you see her ass, though? I had to get those digits." The 2 masked men shook their heads in disbelief at their accomplice's answer. They left their masks on in the car and started to count their newly acquired money. "Just drive carefully. I know exactly where we could dump the car at," said the alpha man.